Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mount Hood Community College and Mount Hood Conference Football 1989. We're here tonight where the Reynolds Raiders will be hosting the Gresham Gophers, and really what comes out to be the granddaddy of all the football games so far this year in the Mount Hood Conference. Both teams coming in at 4-0. Neither team suffering any defeat so far. Two strong defenses ranked 1 and 2 in the conference. Should just be an outstanding ball game. I'm Jim Shealy, and with me tonight is Jim Schobel. And Jim, two teams that are really both on their way up, both teams playing extremely well. Neither one really has been tested to a great degree yet so far in league play.
Well, as you pointed out, this will be the test for both teams, Jim. Last week we saw the Reynolds Raiders just maul David Douglas over at David Douglas, and it was one of the few times that I've ever seen David Douglas or any other team being mauled by a team such as Reynolds, not holding anything back from Mike Shanahan. But as we've seen, Gresham, Barlow, they have dominated the conference over the last few years. Now I think we're starting to see a turn where Reynolds, due to their depth, they're really going to start dominating this league, and we could see some big things tonight from the Reynolds Raiders.
Of course, Gresham, on the other hand, undefeated last year in league. The league champions went on to the semifinals of the state playoffs. Just an outstanding ball club. A well-rounded Gresham team that we see this year. Gresham has added just an outstanding passing attack. Jason Fellows, the outstanding quarterback really so far in the league, leading the league in touchdown passes. Has a great receiver in Nate Hamilton. Also some of the other backs that he throws to out of the backfield. So just a well-rounded attack. Besides, they've got Mr. Do-Everything, Eric Nielsen, who is second in the state in scoring. He leads the league in scoring. He's their PAT kicker, field goals, punter, running back, receiver, does just about everything. But Gresham is not just a one-man team by any means. They are a team that has a lot of people. As I mentioned earlier, both teams just outstanding defenses. Only 6 touchdowns scored against Reynolds. Only 1 touchdown so far scored against Gresham. So I think really the key probably tonight is the defense. Whichever defensive team can control the line of scrimmage, I think that we will probably see that team come out victorious.
Well, Mike Shanahan has been known for his defense. Most of the teams we know in the Mount Hood Conference, they do like to run the ball. I think we're going to see more of a passing game tonight from both teams, Jim.
Well, of course, Reynolds outstanding on the ground with Jason Rome. Another fine runner to go along and be compared to those Gresham backs. So it should just be an outstanding ball game. We're looking forward to just great excitement. And again, we're very happy to be here bringing you the Reynolds Raiders and the Gresham Gophers. We're going to take a break now, and we'll be back with first half action right after this. Our opening kickoff, and we have on the field the officials just breaking up from the playing of our national anthem, and we have Charlie Company, the 1st Battalion, 162nd Infantry, Oregon National Guard was out presenting our colors tonight. And our officials tonight, as you can see, Vern Marshall Jr. is our referee. Our umpire is Al Hansen, linesman Jeff Sandoval, and our judge is Will Clark. And you can see a few minutes ago we had the tossing of the coin, and the Reynolds Raiders will be receiving in the first half. Gresham won the toss and deferred to make their choice at the beginning of the second half, so the Reynolds Raiders chose to receive, and you can see the two teams getting ready for the kickoff. And kicking off for the Gresham Gophers will be Nate Hamilton. Nate will be kicking from the 40-yard line, and you know, this is a team really, Jim, that's just been outstanding in their special team play, their defense and everything. As we mentioned, they've only had 1 touchdown scored against them in 4 games. They have scored 164 points to their opponent's 8 in 4 league games, so they're totally dominating defensively, and I'm sure that's one reason why Coach Gary Stouts from Gresham chose to give his defense the first opportunity on the field.
Well, I think those numbers right there, Jim, say it all. Both of these teams, as we alluded to earlier as we opened the game, you've got the number 1 defensive team and the number 2 defensive team in the Mount Hood Conference going head-to-head, so we may have a really low-scoring game tonight due to the great defensive playing and the abilities of both teams as Hamilton kicks off.
And back with the fake reverse, that's number 44. Blankenship takes the ball to the right side. He's wide open. He's got just Hamilton to beat, and Hamilton, he does not make the tackle, but the pursuit from behind is able to catch Jeff Blankenship as they fake the reverse to Olandria, and the entire defense went with Olandria to the right side, and Blankenship was wide open going up the right side, had a great picket line set up, and he takes the ball all the way down to the Gresham 46-yard line, where the Reynolds Raiders will take over with their first possession. As you can see that excited Reynolds Raiders in a situation where Gresham has totally overreacted to the initial play. Coming up for the Raiders, it'll be Michael Maroney at quarterback. In the backfield will be Jason Rome and Jay Nixon Ashford. Give to Rome, right in the middle. Rome, the number 2 rusher in the Mount Hood Conference, takes the ball in. Looks like it's going to be a gain of about 2 on the play, so it'll be second down. Ball spotted at the 44, second down, and about 8.
Gresham likes to run that option fake to the outside and just push that ball right up the gut. On that kickoff, that was a great, well-executed fake. I mean, like you said, it drew the whole defense off to the right side, and Blankenship was off to the races.
Maroney at quarterback, brings him up, split backs. In motion is Blankenship, give ahead to Rome. Rome straight ahead, cuts off tackle, takes a step outside, picks up a couple of extra yards on his own, but great pursuit again by Gresham over there. Making the stop, led by Nate Hamilton, defensive end number 88.
He is just a great all-around player. He plays football, he plays basketball, he kicks the ball off. He's a wide receiver. I mean, what more can you say about him?
Well, Gresham has a number of people that do go both ways, and of course Hamilton is one of those people that is definitely of all-league caliber, and he does play defense and offense. Okay, it'll be third down now. Ball marked at the 40-yard line. Approximately just a long 4 to go. Maroney brings him up, split backs again. In motion is Blankenship to the right. Fake to Rome, tries to get the option outside. Maroney cuts it up, and he gets a first down. He's over the 35, down to about the 34-yard line, which is enough for the first down. So it'll be first down for the Reynolds Raiders on their initial drive here with just 10 minutes to go now in the first quarter. And Reynolds marching down after a great kickoff return by Jess Blankenship on a fake reverse and fooled the Gresham Gophers, allowing the Reynolds Raiders to get great field position to start the ball game. Again, they come up in their split back set. In the slot is Blankenship. Maroney at quarterback. Gives to Rome, again, right up the middle, and you can see that the defense is really keen on Rome as a whole host of Gresham Gophers. That outstanding defensive line of Gresham is right there. Leading the charge is number 79. That's Pete Poole. And the entire defensive line, kind of hard to pick any one individual out in that whole group.
Somebody like Rome is a hard guy to stop, especially with his size. 6'1", 215, and he just pushes it right at that line.
Maroney brings him up again. Trehorn in the center. Maroney over Trehorn. Split backs. Option to the left. Pitch out to Nixon Ashford. Trying to get outside. Unable to get around the corner. And just a host. Just outstanding.
There were 5 guys right there.
Gresham.
5 guys right there on the play. It shows you just how well that. Sorry about that, Jim. It just shows you just how well that Gresham defense is keying in on all of those backs for Reynolds.
Mike Strand, number 16, leading the charge that time, coming up and making the hit and trying to get outside was Jay Nixon Ashford, not able to get around the corner. And it's pretty tough. You know, Gresham not only has a good strength inside, but they also have great lateral pursuit and good quickness. So it'll be third down and just over 10, almost 11 now. In motion. Looking to throw is Maroney, looking to the outside. He's got a man wide open.
There he is.
Got it, and number 82 with the touchdown is Evan Selby. Evan Selby in the defensive back, number 33 out there, just. Dan Radke was faked up. Great move by Selby, and a touchdown pass of 36 yards by Michael Maroney.
Selby was wide open. Oh, he just had one man to beat. He got a 2 or 3 step lead on him and waltzed right into the end zone for the touchdown.
So on their initial possession, the Reynolds Raiders draw first blood and score only the second touchdown scored against Gresham this year. And it looks like we have a flag on the play. Looks like it'll be roughing the kicker as Steve Rays puts the ball through the uprights. And there was definitely contact, but the flag came in on the play. So 8:21 to go here in the first quarter, and the Reynolds Raiders are on the board.
Definitely roughing the kicker on that penalty, Jim.
Well, it'll be interesting to see here because unlike the pros in college, it's not carried over to the kickoff. And so they'll have a choice either to go to this again and run their
run their two-point play. You can see that Reynolds uses an interesting lineup. Everyone but the center, the holder, and the kicker line up to the left and make sure that they're on the line of scrimmage. And then at that point, if they decide that they are going to kick and the defense does
Personal
make the
foul, roughing the kicker over here. One on time down.
As you can hear, Vern Marshall Jr. making the call there. Now, if the defense does not adjust properly, they go ahead and center that ball, and they'll go for a two-point conversion. But with the defense adjusting properly, they go into their regular PAT set. Steve Ray's to kick. Ball is put down and up, and it's good. So we have a score of 7-0, just like that, and kind of I'm sure that we see Mike Shanahan there has to be extremely pleased with his first series, as Michael Maroney throws the ball to Evan Selby for 36 yards and a touchdown pass right off the bat. Dan Radke, the defensive back out there, actually came up, thought it might be run, was frozen on a nice move by Selby, and Selby goes down the sideline, uncontested, really, no one within about 10 yards of him, Jim.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, Jim, both of these teams like to run the ball, but then again, both of these teams also like to use that pass option play, where if they see that nobody's going to get a chance to run the ball up the middle, cut to the outside, he looked for the open receiver to the outside, and he had green light all the way.
So great job by Reynolds. Is getting ready to kick off is Steve Rays. Rays will be kicking off, number 86. Outstanding soccer players. Rays plays two sports, plays soccer and plays football, plays soccer for the #1 ranked team in the state, the Reynolds Raiders in soccer. Gresham Gophers ranked number 6 in football. Back deep for Gresham, 24, Chad Noggle. This will be number 32, Rick Nelson. Nelson up the left side. Nelson's got some room up the side, but there is a flag down. Flag down back around the 22-yard line, and in all likelihood, we'll wait to hear from the officials, but usually some type of a blocking infraction.
Nelson is also one of those backs that you have to keep an eye on all night. You just cannot let your eyes off of him for one split second, otherwise it will cost you 6 or 7 points.
Now it looks like there's going to be a clipping call, and so they will move it back from about the 22. There will be a clipping penalty assessed.
As you were saying, on the extra point attempt for the Reynolds, the way they line up on that side, they could also stand a chance of possibly blocking.
White. Down is 1, first down.
They could stand a chance of possibly blocking their own attempt.
Okay, here we go now. The Gresham Gophers taking over. Jason Fellows at quarterback, out of splitbacks this time. Give that straight ahead, and that looks like it's Nielsen, and Nielsen is stopped right at the line of scrimmage. Correction, that's not Nielsen, that is number 20, Snook. Mike Snook carrying the ball, stopped right at the line of scrimmage, gain of possibly 1 on the play, so it'll be 2nd and 9. Ball is marked on about the 12, 13-yard line.
And this would be a great test right here for the Raider defense. If they should catch Gresham down at this end of the field, it would put them once again in excellent field position.
Fellows brings him up. Out of the I formation this time. Nielsen, the deep back, Snook the up back. Sweep this time. Out in front, it's Nielsen. Nielsen around the corner, and a great block that time by Mike Snook, the lead back, number 20, able to get a good block on the corner. And Nielsen, with the run, looks like he picked up about 8 on the play, so it'll be 3rd down and about 1. 3rd down and 1, ball marked just over the 20-yard line. We're watching the replay here. You see number 20 get out in front. Mike Snook, the lead back, and he really allows Nielsen to get upfield and turn that corner for a gain of 8 on the play. Fellows again brings him up, number 19, Gresham quarterback. Split backs this time. Give. Right ahead on the dive play, going for the first down. It's going to be very close. 3rd and short. Looks like they got a pretty good spot on it. It's marked at the 22-yard line, so it looks like in all likelihood it will be a first down. So
there it is.
It is a first down for the Gresham Gophers. We have 6:39 to go here in the first quarter. Score 7-0. The Reynolds Raiders going 47 yards in 6 plays. and scoring on a 35-yard touchdown pass from Michael Maroney to Evan Selby. Fellows brings him up. Hamilton split left, Noggle in the slot, split backs, Snook and Nielsen. Fellows back, a lateral pass outside to Noggle. Noggle up, tries to get upfield, cuts back inside, still on his feet, still fighting for yardage, and all the way up to the 30-yard line is Chad Noggle in a great run. And all they do on that is basically a one-man screen. They have Nate Hamilton out there, number 88, to split in. They hit Noggle on actually a very long lateral, and Noggle then tries to follow the block of Hamilton upfield, and that time he was able to do it to the tune of about 8 yards on the play, so it'll be second down and long 2.
Noggle got an extra 3 or 4 yards by breaking that one tackle and just lunging forward. That's one thing that they teach you how to do. If you're going to break a tackle, lunge forward, not backward.
Fellows at quarterback, out of the I formation, slot back. Noggle, here they come with a little bit of a counter that time, and good job by number 84 that time. Staying at home for the Reynolds Raiders was Mike Card, the defensive end, and Card does a great job that time on the counter play. The wingback that time coming on the counter, Chad Noggle, taken down, gain of about 6-8 inches on the play, so it's still be third down and a long 1 now. Coming out to the right, split right is Hamilton, in the slot is Noggle. Straight ahead, that's Nielsen. Correction, Snook again, 20 out of the backfield for the first down. And one thing that Reynolds did that time is they really overshifted to the slot side, and in doing so, it splits the defense, and that's one of the big things that Gresham has this year. One of the potent things is the fact they have diversity in their offense. They can throw the ball as well as run it.
I think what we're seeing, Reynolds on defense, anticipating the run, and the defensive backs and the rest of the secondary just hanging back, waiting for the run, and that really hasn't allowed Gresham to get anything really substantially moving.
There we see Nielsen, the all-purpose back. Eric Nielsen, second leading scorer in the state, breaks it up the middle on 1st and 10. Gets a gain of about 4 on the play. About 4, so it'll be 2nd and 6 now. Ball marked at about the 39-yard line of Gresham, and this has been a fairly methodical type of a march by Gresham. They've been very conservative with the exception of the one screen pass, quick pass outside to Noggle. Other than that, they've basically been inside oriented with 1 or 2 options. Noggle in motion right. Back looking for Noggle on a quick pass. He gets the ball to the outside. He fumbles, but the lucky bounce that time for the Gresham Gophers as number 23 came up and made the hit. That was Peter Taylor came up and made the hit and knocked the ball loose, but the ball bounced right back into Noggle's hands, something you don't always see in football.
We've barely had any rain at all this last week, Jim, and that ground is still pretty hard, and it was just a lucky bounce, like you said.
So Noggle moves it all the way up. It's 3rd down and 1 now. Ball now at the 44-yard line. As Fellows brings them up, they go slot left again, split backs. Noggle in the slot. Gives straight ahead. That's Snook again. Snook over the 45 all the way up to about the 47, and it looks like it will be another first down for the Gresham Gophers as they just try to pound it out right now, trying to establish that ground game. And of course, for so many years, Gresham was noted because of their strong offensive line play. They've been noted for their running game. And the thing that has made them so tough this year is the diversity with that passing attack. Jason Fellows throwing to Noggle and to Nielsen out of the backfield, and of course Nate Hamilton, fine wide receivers. So they really have some diversity in their offense this year, but they've pretty much stayed to the ground so far here in the first quarter. Fellows quick pitch back on a sweep left to Nielsen. Nielsen tries to get outside. He does get around the corner all the way up to the Reynolds, into Reynolds territory. And it looks like it's going to be marked at about the 47-yard line of Reynolds.
Nielsen has just really impressed me, Jim. He can just cut right up the field, cut to the outside without any hesitation at all and just make it look really easy.
You know, of course, they've got some good blocking out front. When they run that sweep, it's the old student body left, student body right. And they give a quick pitch, and they've got a whole bunch of people out there. And they have such a fine line play from Gresham that it's nice to be able to run in behind that. Split right is Hamilton. Fellows out of the eye, gives to Snook. First back through, the fullback.
Ball
pops loose right in the middle, and it looks like Gresham did recover it down on the bottom of the pile. One of the Gresham Gophers alertly falls on that ball. I didn't get the number of who recovered that, but a great recovery and a very fortunate break for the Gresham Gophers. There we see the ball come down, and it looked like number 82 for the Gresham Gophers. Justin McCluskey was the one that fell on that ball.
Second time we've seen the ball pop loose. Of course, it isn't raining now. It is a little damp down there on the field due to the condensation factor.
Fellows brings him up, split backs this time, slot right, Noggle in motion left now. Fellows drops back, looks for a quick pass, and he's got out of the backfield Eric Nielsen with a fine catch, and really kind of a deceptive play in that Fellows threw that ball. There we see Eric Nielsen, number 28, who made a fine catch and reception there and moved the ball all the way down to the Reynolds 23-yard line. It's a very nice play. Well, I tell you, Fellows hung in there till the very last second. He had a lot of pressure from the up front people from Reynolds, but he hung in there until the last second and found Eric Nielsen down the field. And they have a first down now on the Reynolds 23-yard line.
Great catch by Nielsen.
Fellows brings him up, slot right this time, split backs. A little bit longer count, give to Nielsen this time. Nielsen tries to cut it back to the left, and it looks like he got about 4 yards on the play. About 4 plays, so we'll call it a long 6, 2nd and 6 now. 2nd and 6, and you can see that what Gresham basically does so well, especially when they're in big ball games, is they dominate the football. They have that ability to just grind it out, and this is something that I know Reynolds would like to do, Mike Shanahan would like to do, and they tried to do really against David Douglas when they only allowed Douglas 6 possessions, but Gresham doing it to Reynolds right now. Back to passes, Fellows over the middle. McCluskey down the middle for a touchdown to Justin McCluskey in the quick pass right over the middle. And of course, when you're running wide, that's the one thing that happens. You begin to get those linebackers and the defensive people begin to spread out and respect that outside. And there we saw it as Justin McCluskey slides right down the middle for a 20-yard touchdown pass.
As you said, the linebackers that backed up and the defensive backs also backed up, allowing that room in the middle. McCluskey, all he had to do was basically get past the linebacker. The defensive back was way out of position to even have an attempt at him.
Trying the extra point will be Eric Nielsen. Eric Nielsen, not a great looking kick, but certainly effective as the ball goes through. So with 35 seconds to go here in the first quarter, it is the Reynolds Raiders 7 and the Gresham Gophers 7 as Gresham comes right back in their first possession and takes it right down the field and marches all the way after taking over on about the 12-yard line. So it's about an 88-yard drive as they dominated the clock for almost 8 minutes. It was 8:21 when Reynolds scored, and it's 35 seconds to go here in the first quarter. So almost an 8-minute drive for the Gresham Gophers as they just power the ball down the field and cap it off with a very nice pass to the tight end from Jason Fellows for 20 yards right down the middle.
Both of these teams have just showed me how similar they are. Both of the teams tried to establish a running game, and then right at the last moment when they get within about 30 yards of the goal, establishing a short passing option and countering on it and getting it into the end zone for a touchdown.
Hamilton with the kickoff. Back, that's number 44, picks it up. And 44 is just nailed in a great coverage. That was 21 on the kickoff coverage. Number 21 for Gresham was James Golden. Along with him, 44, Ron Morris.
That's the one thing they tell you to do on a kickoff return. Stick your helmet right in the numbers, and that's what he did.
Great coverage that time by Gresham as Blankenship is stopped. So the ball will be marked just over the 25-yard line now as the clock is moving. And probably, unless it's a pass play, this could very likely be the last play of the first quarter. As Maroney brings him up. Give to Rome. Rome straight ahead and nothing there. And holy cow, was there ever a hit there by number 72 from the Gresham Gophers? That was Doug Boss. Talk about helmet-to-helmet contact. Just an outstanding running back and an outstanding lineman. And Doug Boss and Jason Rome meet head-on at the pass for no gain. So that ends the first quarter. And we have a 7-7 tie here with the Reynolds Raiders and the Gresham Gophers, both scoring on their first possessions. Marching the ball down, the Raiders scoring on a 35-yard touchdown pass from Michael Maroney to Evan Selby. And the Gresham Gophers scoring on a 20-yard touchdown pass from Jason Fellows to Justin McCluskey. So both teams basically grinding it out on the ground, and then, as you said, Jim, going to the pass and scoring. And I think probably because the defenses are so keyed to the run, a lot of it, the pass becomes so effective that way.
Both teams have excellent running backs. Rome for the Reynolds Raiders, and then Nielsen for Gresham. You have to keep an eye on those two, and when you have to keep an eye on two players such as that, it tends you to draw to the outside and try and catch a defense off guard. And sometimes if you can catch a defense off guard, it'll be to your advantage.
Okay, so the Reynolds Raiders now, beginning the second quarter, will be in possession. It's 2nd down and 10. Give this time inside, and just smothered is Jay Nixon Ashford in there at the other running back along with Jason Rome, and Ashford is just nailed right at the line of scrimmage. Actually may have lost about 6 inches on the play, so still 3rd and 10. And the Reynolds Raiders unable to move right now, and we can probably look for a little bit more diversity. I'm sure that the Raiders are probably going to look to do a little bit more than just try to run, because one thing that Gresham has done is that their rushing defense has really been tremendous. And we found earlier when Reynolds tried to get outside, they were a little bit more effective that way. So Roman Ashford again in the backfield, and it looks like we're going to have a penalty, a delay of game, as the Raiders took too much time getting the play in that time as the plays were run in from the sideline. And so it looks like they will be faced now with a 3rd and 15. 3rd and 15 for the Raiders.
You know, Jim, as we always, there's
Dead
the
ball
call.
foul, delay, offense, still 3.
As we always say, penalties will kill you. And in a game as important as this one, and as evenly matched as these two teams are, down the line with 4 or 5 minutes left in the 4th quarter, we're going to look and see just how effective these penalties are against each other.
Maroney back to pass, looking, and he is hit just as he throws the ball. That was Hamilton, and Snook just crunched him. Hamilton and Snook. Hamilton and Snook, and the interception was by, did we get a number on that?
That was number 33 for Gresham.
33.
That was Dan Radke.
33, Dan Radke on about a 25-yard touchdown interception.
I tell you, Fellows got hit, and as soon as he got hit, you could tell the ball was not going to get to the point where it was supposed to go.
Nielsen to try the extra point now. And it's up, and it looks good, and it is. So Eric Nielsen adds the extra point, and all of a sudden now we have a 17-14 ball game as Maroney was intercepted. The ball was on the 20-yard line. Radke picked it off at about the 25 and hit by Snook and Hamilton just as he released the ball. Just sandwiched in there, and the ball just popped straight up in the air. Radke making the interception and goes 25 yards for the touchdown. So now we have a 14-7 ball game for Gresham with 11:04 here in the second quarter.
That was just the 8th touchdown scored against Reynolds this year. So they have 6 coming into tonight's ball game, and quickly they have 2 right off the bat.
Well, that, of course, has to be a real confidence concern now for Coach Mike Shanahan, because 2 quick touchdowns like that in a team like Reynolds, again, merging of 2 high schools, Columbia and Reynolds going together to make the new Reynolds High School now, and the success is, you know, in large part attributed to Mike Shanahan and his staff, what they have done, and the numbers now that they have and the depth. But, you know, a very delicate psyche in terms of trying to keep that positive attitude going. As Blankenship returns the ball, he cuts up, cuts through the middle, and he is swarmed under in the middle by the Gresham Gophers. And he returns the ball to about the 29-yard line, where the Reynolds Raiders will take over again as Jess Blankenship, number 44, returns it all the way back to the 29-yard line.
About a 20-yard return for Jess, and nothing fancy, just get it far as you can, don't fumble the ball.
Well, I'm sure as Michael Maroney goes into the huddle, if he's called any pass plays, the one thing that he's telling him is make sure and block that backside, because Nate Hamilton came to the party, but also Mike Snook was there from the backside as well, and they had a real meeting in the backfield, and unfortunately in the middle of that meeting was Michael Maroney, and When he let that ball go, you could just see it looked like a wounded quail fluttering out there. And there's a timeout called here by Reynolds. So Reynolds calls their first timeout. And Mike Shanahan and Dan Baker there talking it over. And on the other side, you see the Gresham Gophers over there. Gary Stouts and his staff. And I'm sure, you know, Gresham has to be very pleased with their defensive effort, although they did give up the long touchdown pass from Michael Maroney to Evan Selby early, 8:21 to go in the first quarter. Since that time, they have done a very good job in that second possession by Reynolds. They did a very fine job of just stuffing the run and for no gain whatsoever. In fact, losing about 6 inches on the play. So it was 3rd and 15 after the penalty for Reynolds when the interception occurred that Dan Radke took all the way back for a touchdown. Straight ahead, give to Jason Rome. Rome trying to power his way, and that, boy, I'll tell you, that's just blood and guts football right there as we see the wide receiver, Kirk Budge, way out on the left side, just now getting back to the huddle, and nobody from Gresham out there was even with him. So I'm sure that that's something that's going to be pointed out to the people down on the field. Number 81, Jordan Wiggins, coming in with the play for the Reynolds Raiders. As we see the Raiders break their huddle. They come up to line of scrimmage. Rome and Nixon Ashford in the backfield. Olandria in the slot. Maroney at quarterback. Maroney comes out on the option, tries to turn up. He does turn up. Looks for a seam there, and he finds a seam for about 5 or 6 yards and turns it up. Kind of a slow developing play, Jim, but one in which Maroney did find a seam and was able to pick up about 5 on the play, so it'll be, looks like 3rd down and about 4 on the play.
That was a gutsy play by Maroney. A lot of quarterbacks do not like to get hit, and on that play, he just drove it up the middle and didn't really care if he got hit or not. The yardage was more important.
So a good read that time by Maroney. Coach, the option, that's the one thing you try to do. You ride that fullback, and if there's a seam, you give it to him. If not, the quarterback turns it up, or he then can pitch out. So Maroney running the other thing to that side. And I tell you what, number 72, or excuse me, that was 22, Brandon Deichler just came to the party, and Deichler just met him head on, and there was no way that Maroney was going to have any opportunity whatsoever to pitch that ball. And Maroney comes off now with 4th down and about 6, and just a fantastic effort that time by Brandon Deichler, coming in from his right defensive end to stuff the option. Back to punt. Number 41.
And a nice kick, got to about the 30-yard line.
Gets the ball all the way back, and 24 is returning ball Chad Noggle. Noggle reverses field, comes back. He's got this whole left side. He's got one man to beat. Number 15, he cuts back, and he gets by. Can he be run down? Noggle going. One man still with an opportunity, not there, and Noggle with a fantastic punt return.
I'll tell you who set that play up right there, Jim. It was a great block out around the 35-yard line by Nate Hamilton. Nate Hamilton stuck it to one of the defenders, and Noggle was gone.
Here we see the replay as he reverses field, comes back around, and a great block, as you mentioned, Jim, by Hamilton, but great running. There he breaks one tackle. 2 people still in pursuit of him. They die. They can't get to him. 5, and he's in. Just a fantastic effort by Chad Noggle.
70 yards on that run, and he got up to about the 35, took a back turn, and if it wasn't for that tackle by Hamilton, Gresham would be sitting back here at their own 25.
And again, not a good kick by Nielsen, and that's the first one in 31 attempts this year that Eric Nielsen has not converted. He had been up to that point with the 2 earlier tonight. He had been 30 for 30, and that will be his first one, so he is now 30 for 31. So now, with 8:39 to go here in the second quarter, the Reynolds Raiders draw first blood they jump off to a 7-0 lead, but right back come the Gresham Gophers with 3 touchdowns in a row, and they now lead 20-7 in just a fantastic run. One of the best that we have seen this year, a 70-yard punt return by Chad Noggle.
I tell you, Mike Shanahan right now has got to be saying to himself, what went wrong on that play?
It'll be interesting to see, Jim, just where they measure that from. The longest punt return that they'd had so far this year in the league was Chad Noggle, 72 yards versus Park Rose. So depending upon where they mark that and the official distance given on that, that very easily could match the league-leading return by Chad Noggle from Gresham. Hamilton to kick off. Back, that's Blankenship, Jess Blankenship. Sees the ball at about the 13. Cuts upfield, he's got a seam in the middle. And he is stopped at the 33, 34-yard line. So the ball will be marked at the 34-yard line as the Reynolds Raiders take over again. And I'll tell you what, in the matter of just a few minutes, about 4 minutes now, Gresham has scored 3 touchdowns, just lightning quick. And I mentioned earlier at the start of the show, Jim, the one thing that was so impressive is not only their defense, but their special teams play. And their special teams now have scored 1. The defense have scored 1. And here we see Nixon Ashford as he tries on a little bit of a trap play. Nothing there, and the Gresham defense is just cranking it up and not allowing anything at that line of scrimmage.
Well, I tell you, Jim, if Noggle and Blankenship were both on the same team, you would have one heck of a returning team for whatever high school it is. Like you said, Noggle has 2 runs of 70, 70 plus, and Blankenship has had 2 returns of about 20 to 25 yards. But this Gresham defense is just outstanding.
Maroney brings him up. Split backs. Give to Rome. Rome straight ahead. You know, it looks like it's going to be pretty difficult for the Reynolds Raiders to get anything out of their interior running game. And as we see the Raiders here trying to, and Mike Shanahan there pacing the sideline.
He doesn't look like a happy man at this moment.
Well, a real contrast to about 5 minutes ago when the Raiders were on top 7-0. Then all of a sudden the big turnaround. So we see the 2 receivers come in. That's Brian Peterson, 88. Evan Selby, 82, who has the 1 touchdown reception. Coming in, and they're facing 3rd down and a long 8. Peterson splits to the right. In motion, coming back. Maroney looking and just off of his hands. It looks like that might have been one that could have been caught. He had to go up. It would have been a great catch to see Brian Peterson there, a little bit frustrated. It would have been a great catch, but it's one of those that in a big ball game like this, you'd like to see your receivers come up with. So
I think he heard Dan Radke's footsteps behind him. Had Radke had 2 more steps to the right, he probably would have been off on that one too.
Corey Morris, 41, back to punt. Deep for Gresham. It's Noggle. Noggle again, trying to get outside. Not able to break outside this time. Ball is on the ground.
Loose.
On the ground, and the Gresham Gophers come up with it again. And that's the 3rd fumble now that the Gophers have had, and in each case, they have come up with their own fumble. Number 79 that time, Pete Poole, making the fumble recovery. So an alert play by Pete Poole. You see him running off there, 79, to get back on that fumble. And Noggle advancing the ball up, but losing control of it. And that's 3 times, Jim, and that's something that has to concern Gary Stouts.
That football has been squibbing out of guys' hands like a wet bar of soap.
Fellows brings him up now out of the I formation. In motion is Noggle to the right.
Play in the middle. Play in the middle, right there, tight end.
Fake draw. Fellows
Oh,
looking.
he got hit. Oh, what a hit in the backfield.
Well, I tell you, number 84, that was Mike Card again coming in from the backside, and of course that was a blind side for Fellows, being the left-hander. He sets up and he's looking downfield, and off the blind side, he was hit in the back by Mike Card just as he released the ball. Unfortunately for the Raiders, when that happened to Michael Maroney a little bit earlier, the ball popped up in the air. This time the ball was driven right into the ground.
And you have to credit that with him being a left-hander. Left-handers don't tend to throw up. They're trying to throw sidearm.
Fellows brings him up again out of the I formation. In motion is Nielsen to the left. And Fellows not liking what he sees. Evidently, there looked like there was a little bit of confusion in terms of the motion. I think it might have been the motion. Eric Nielsen went in the wrong direction out of his motion, and so Jason Fellows alertly calls timeout. That's Gresham's first timeout as he goes over, and you see him talking there with Coach Gary Stouts, and they will be going over the plays that they have a choice of. It's 2nd down and 10 after that incomplete pass. Ball marked on the 40-yard line of Gresham.
Nielsen came all the way over to the sideline on that. And for a minute there, it looked like he was going to move up, and then he really wasn't sure of what he wanted to do.
Well, Fellows alertly, you know, one thing that I've been very impressed with in terms of Fellows is the intelligence that he uses in terms of play calling, audibling, and doing a good job with when he has a chance to check off, and he's very alert and a very football-minded person. So an alert play that time for him to call timeout. So it looks like we're ready to go now as Gresham uses their timeout. Gary Stouts talks with Jason Fellows. Mark Ferris trying to get his defense pumped up. He's out there, the defensive coordinator.
Hey, he better watch it. He's going to get crunched.
So Fellows brings him up. They're out of the I formation again. And this time Nielsen goes in, and as we thought, he goes into motion the other way. Fellows looking back.
Oh,
He's got a man down there. He's got Nielsen, and Nielsen had a step, but the ball was overthrown that time by Fellows. I'll tell you, that was on a string. That was just a bullet thrown by Fellows.
Fellows threw a beeliner on that one.
That's a 35-yard pass right on the line. Not much arc on that one at all. Then that's, of course, the kind of pass that you would like to see your quarterback maybe put up in the air and allow him to, your receiver to run under it. And it looked like Nielsen going in motion that time had caused a little bit of confusion and was behind the defensive back and had a step on him, but the ball was thrown too far downfield. So it'll be 3rd down now and 10, ball marked at the 40-yard line, as Gresham has gone to 2 passes in a row after they ground out 8 minutes earlier in the half. In motion is Noggle to the right, splits backs. Again, back to pass is Fellows. Fellows is caught and dropped. Initially, that was Jason Rome in there, and then came Mike Card. Mike Card, the defensive end, gets the sack, but Jason Rome was the first man to really put the pressure on. And so a loss of a little over 15 on the play. So it will be 3rd down and about 4th down and 25.
That was just great, tenacious defense by Card and Rome. Rome, like you said, with the initial hit, and then Card just came back in and put the icing on the cake.
Back to kick is Nielsen. Mr. Do-Everything, Eric Nielsen to punt. Gets the punt away. Pretty good kick. Fielded by number 23. Tries to cut out to the left side, nothing there. 23 is Peter Taylor. And Peter Taylor gets the ball all the way back to the Gresham 45-yard line.
Not bad fielding position with just a little over 5 minutes left in the half, and maybe the Reynolds Raiders can get another touchdown on the board. And they're not out of it by any means, but still, Mike Shanahan and that Raider offense have really got to get something going against this Gresham defense. Like you said earlier, the ground game, it hasn't been too successful, so maybe they might try some more aerial plays.
Maroney brings him up. In motion is Blankenship to the left. Maroney looks for the quick pass to the outside of Brian Peterson. Peterson tries to get what he can upfield, and 3 people hit him all at once. And Peterson gets the first down. So a little bit of a spread type of play where they try to spread the defense, throw that ball to the outside, and try to isolate one-on-one. And Brian Peterson able to get the ball up, gain of about 11 or so on the play. So it is a first down, ball all the way down now to the 33.5-yard line of the Gresham Gophers.
We saw Blankenship on some of the running plays. What Blankenship will do as a wingback is he will line up over on the left side of that line and kind of curl in. Here we see number 19, Kent Dawson, lining up on the right side in the wingback position.
Maroney brings him up, gives straight ahead to Rome. Rome looking for something on the inside and nothing there. I think partially what they are doing with that inside game is, if nothing else, trying to get the defense to continue to play, tight and respect that running game. And if they can get them to do that, then I'm sure that we'll continue to see that quick type of movement to the outside, where the defense is not quite as plentiful when they're trying to stop that run on the inside. But that whole host of people on the inside of the Doug Boss and company on the inside of the Gresham line. Back is Maroney. Again,
wide open.
Quick pass to the outside. That's Evan Selby. Selby down close to the first down. It'll be interesting to see where the mark is, whether or not they get it.
That's one of those little plays you practice down at the park with all your neighborhood buddies. It's a little 3-step turn around and look at the quarterback, and that's what Selby did.
Here we'll see the replay as Maroney gets the ball quickly to the outside. Selby trying to get upfield, and it looks like they're going to have a measurement here. We're going to have a timeout for measurement. We have 3:34 to go here in the first half. The score 20 for the Gresham Gophers and 7 for the Reynolds Raiders, as the Raiders scored first on their first possession.
I'd rather be sure than not sure.
And the Gophers came right back and ground out almost an 8-minute drive to finally score at the beginning of the second quarter.
Here we'll get a good look at the measurement.
And they do have it, so it will be a first down.
Great work by our camera people down there on the sidelines.
So the Reynolds Raiders with another first down as they start to drive now, going to their short passing game against that tough interior defense. We might mention some of those people. Number 64, John Lopez, the nose guard. 79 for the Gresham Gophers, Pete Pools. 72, I mentioned Doug Boss. Those are the people on the interior line for the Gophers that have done such an outstanding job. Also 22, Brandon Deisler, defensive end, and Nate Hamilton, a defensive end, 88. Maroney tries to come out on the option, pitches out. Dixon Ashford can't get around the corner, and a great defensive effort by Mike Snook, number 20, comes up and makes the tackle for a 1 yard, make it 2-3 yard loss. Just a great job by Snook coming up.
I tell you, Maroney got hit just as he got rid of that ball. I think that kind of deferred that play a little bit.
Second down at 13.
We have a timeout now as the officials confer here. I'm not sure what we'll see. Is there's Dan Baker, one of the assistants for the Reynolds Raiders. And we're waiting to see what's going on here with the officials and what call is going to be made.
Mike Shanahan is out on the 30-yard line to confer with one of the officials to see what the call was.
We'll wait to see now. Looks like they're trying to talk to the folks up above here. I'm not sure what the situation is. They're talking to both of the head coaches, and it will be interesting to see just what's going on. I'm not sure whether it's a problem with the clock or what it is.
Mike Shanahan does not look entirely at all happy. As the official left, he kind of looked down in disgust.
Okay, it looks like they will be putting 20 seconds back on the clock, so there will be 3:23. That's what the concern is that they will there was a correction to be made in the clock, and when they get it up at 3:23, so we have 3:23 here to go in the second quarter.
3:23 on the clock.
And second down and a long 13 for the Raiders. The ball is marked at the 26-yard line of the Gresham Gophers.
Out of bounds, we wound it, so we add those 20 seconds.
Okay, there was, as you heard there, the call was that the person had gone out of bounds earlier, and 20 seconds ran off the clock, so they put the 20 seconds back on. So we have 3:15 and counting. Maroney at quarterback, lone back is Rome. Maroney back to pass, looks like a screen pass, and it's intercepted right in the middle, and that's number 64, one of those linemen, John Lopez, who steps in front and makes the interception. Just a fantastic play by John Lopez, the middle guard, as you don't get the opportunity to see a middle guard like that. Right there, you see John Lopez with a great interception.
Well, he looked about as fast as a linebacker squealing in there.
Penalty flag on the play.
We have a dead ball, personal foul.
And that's going to go against Gresham, and that'll hurt Gresham.
Well, the main thing that Gresham has done here is they've been able to fight off the attack by Reynolds, and of course, the possession is a big thing, but as you said, Jim, that would have been really devastating to take the ball over there. But they will be put back in a hole now, so that it'll be a situation where Gresham will have a long ways to go if they are going to score. Again, we're waiting for the officials to kind of straighten things out and decide what's going on here.
Maroney, as soon as he had backed up after the ball had been released from the snap, he had 3 linemen all over him. Here's the call.
Well, we'll see what's going on here.
Dead ball, personal foul over here. White, we're going to set the stakes, 1st and 25.
Okay, so it was a dead ball foul, so that means that the penalty occurred after they had received possession and after it was a 1st and 10. So the 15 will be tacked on, so they'll have a 1st and 25. You heard official Vern Marshall Jr. giving us the information, and very clearly, I might add. That makes it nice and easy for you folks at home to understand. Because sometimes people here, a lot of folks don't, and so that really helps us out. We appreciate the work of the officials.
So what will happen is it'll be a 1st and 25 on the 15-yard line.
Check that, 1st and 25.
And the clock will be started, so 3:05 and counting now. As Fellows brings them up in the I formation. They have a slot to the left. Fellows straight ahead give. And breaking a tackle, that's number 49, Matt Lassard. Lassard just busting it up, and Lassard, one of the leading rushers in the conference, number 5, in fact, right behind teammate Eric Nielsen, as Jason Rome is number 2 in the conference. Rushing, he has 407 yards on 90 carries. Number 4, Eric Nielsen from Gresham with 43 carries for 314 yards, and you see right there, Matt Lassard, number 49 for the Gophers.
He picked up 9 yards just running straight up, finding a hole, found another hole, and just brought it in.
Well, that makes it 2nd and about 14, so that's a big chunk of yardage to pick up on 1st down, especially on a running play. Reynolds uses another timeout here, so they have used 2 of their timeouts.
What we saw in that last series, Jim, was basically Reynolds was trying to do to Gresham what Gresham has been doing to Reynolds all night. Just push the ball up the field, just get as many yards as you can, but try not to overdo anything. And Reynolds had that ball for a good 6 minutes.
Now, of course, unfortunately, they were not able to capitalize on that possession, as number 64, John Lopez, makes an interception, and a real treat for a nose guard on defense to step in there. But it's a middle screen to Jason Rome, as Michael Maroney tries to dump the ball right over the on-rushing lineman to Jason Rome for a middle screen, and nothing was there. And so John Lopez with the interception, and Gresham now takes over. In motion is Lassard. Fellows back, looking downfield, straight back. He's got a man, and that's Hamilton. And Hamilton, the ball broken up by number 40. That was Ben Clark in on the coverage, and Clark timing it very well. We'll see here as Fellows goes down the middle, and, excuse me, that was Brian Peterson, number 88. That was on that coverage, and it looked like Peterson might have been hanging on him a little bit there, but he got away with it. There was contact before the pass got there, but evidently it was one of those that the official decided to let go.
It looked like the ball had got there just as Peterson reached for the ball, so that call, like you said, that call could have gone either way.
Again, Fells brings him up 3rd and 14 out of the I formation. In motion right is Lassard. Fells back to pass. He's got room out. He's looking downfield. He's trying to throw, and he throws long. Ball is up for grab and intercepted. Intercepted by Brian Peterson, number 88. And that time Nate Hamilton was put in a position where he had to play defensive back. And basically, that's one of the first bad decisions I've seen Jason Fells. We see him coming out here, rolling to the left, looking downfield, really doesn't have his feet set under him, and just throws that ball up for grabs. And Brian Peterson with the interception, and the ball marked at the 39-yard line of Reynolds. So with 2:25 and counting, Reynolds will have another opportunity, and I'm sure that we'll probably see him air it out just a little bit, as Peterson is split right and Budge is split to the left. Landry in motion left. Back is Maroney. Maroney
Short
outside.
pass.
Short pass outside to Peterson.
I tell you what, on that interception, Jason Rome put the pressure on Jason Fellows, and like you said, a ball was just a flat throw, and basically the tables were turned. That was the interception that Peterson didn't get on that last play.
So that time the short quick out pass to Brian Peterson picked up about 5, so it'd be 2nd down and 5 now. Ball marked at the 44-yard line. Of course, the timeout with him going out of bounds, 2:09. here in the second quarter, and Reynolds would definitely like to get down and put some points on the board after the 3-touchdown explosion by the Gresham Gophers a little earlier. Olandry in motion left. Back to pass is
Good
Maroney. Maroney throws one up for grabs.
And
it's out of bounds. At least he threw his out of bounds, and a nice job by number 33 that time, Dan Radke, able to get there and intercept the ball or catch the ball, but he was out of bounds. And the one thing that Maroney did there was he did throw it out of bounds, unlike Fellows, who threw it in the middle of the field and basically said, whoever wants it gets it. So clock stopped again with 2:02. Third down now and 5.
That's one of those plays you hope that he drops it, either that or you hope that it has a chance of going out of bounds, and that one did.
So the Raiders face now, ball marked on their own 44-yard line. They have to at least get the first down if they're going to try to get anything out of this. Maroney brings them up. Quick pitch outside, and nothing there for Nixon Ashford. Tries to get outside, and again, that defense on the right side. That was 22 coming up. That was Brandon Deichler. James Golden was there. And a whole host of Gresham Gophers out there as they get just tremendous pursuit. And their people in the secondary really come up quickly. And, of course, they're susceptible to a halfback pass, but we don't know whether that's in the repertoire of the Reynolds Raiders or not.
This Gresham defense has just been outstanding all night. The one thing that both teams, Jim, that haven't really seen too much of, both teams have not really tested the other team's the secondaries. We haven't seen a lot of long, deep passes. We've seen a lot of short passes toward the sideline.
Well, I think, you know, with the time and with the offensive and defensive lines, especially with the defensive lines that we've seen, the Gophers in particular, but the Raiders have also shown a great defensive charge. See Dan Baker, one of the assistants on the sideline, who works with the line and also with the running backs and the offense. The line play really has not permitted them to have much time to draw back and make those kinds of throws. So you know, it's a situation where they have to really go to their short passing game if they're going to put the ball in the air. Both teams have been very effective with that short passing game. Back to punt.
Back to punt for Reynolds.
Back to punt is Corey Morris. And he waits and hangs on to that thing. Great kick. He gets away a great kick as Noggle
he lost
again fumbles it and does pick it up and recovers fumble, and that's the 4th fumble. And each time Gresham has recovered their own fumbles. So 4 fumbles here in the first half, but all recovered by the Gresham Gophers.
I think the one thing that Gary Stotts is going to have to emphasize when they go in the locker room at halftime is get both hands on the ball and bring it in, hold it like a loaf of bread, and do not have any chance of having that ball knocked out of your hands.
Nice punt that time by Corey Morris. And although he kind of, it wasn't a picture-perfect one, it was one that he hung on to, but got a nice spiral, got it turned over. Out of the I formation now, slot left, Noggle in the slot. Fellows on the draw play. That's Nielsen straight up the gut, and obviously Reynolds was looking for the pass, and the clock is stopped as they set the chains for the timeout. I mean, excuse me, the clock is stopped as they set the chains for the first down. And we're going to take a break real quickly, and we'll be back for the last part right after this message.
Which hand holds your best defense against AIDS? They both do. Find out about AIDS before it finds you.
While we were gone, Fellows completed a pass to Hamilton, a quick out pass for 25 yards, and the ball then was moved up to the 48-yard line of the Reynolds Raiders. So Fellows back, and again we see the draw play. Nielsen breaks to the outside, cuts back inside, cuts against the grain, takes the ball all the way down, and after that 2-yard loss that they had suffered earlier,
he's real
on
close
the fumble.
to a first down.
It looks like he's close to the first down, and we'll see where it's marked. It looks like it is a first down, so the clock does stop with 31 seconds to go. And Gresham takes a timeout here.
I tell you, I'm really impressed with Eric Nielsen. He reminds me a lot of Walter Payton, who used to play for the Chicago Bears. Guns it right up the middle, cuts to the outside, cuts in, cuts back, goes back and forth with little or no, it's just a real gliding motion. It's nice to see that.
Well, Nielsen, of course, the all-purpose back. As you see Mike Shanahan and the concern on his face, head coach of the Raiders, he's very concerned with his defense right now. 31 seconds to go, and of course, Gresham has a very explosive offense. There's a lot of things they can do as they call a timeout to get things pretty much straightened out here. And we'll probably have to look to the air, and of course they have Nate Hamilton, who I feel is probably one of the best receivers in the league, and he can get down quickly, and of course he has great jump reach. But in the backfield at free safety for the Raiders is Brian Peterson, also of good size and our wide receiver in his own right. So should be an interesting confrontation as Fellows brings him up, split backs here, out of the shotgun. Fellows looks outside, and that's Hamilton. Hamilton catches that ball and steps out of bounds very quickly to stop the clock with 27 seconds to go here in the second quarter. And that'll give them a little bit of a lease on life there, as it looks like it's going to be about second and a long one, a short two.
Hamilton wisely stepped out of bounds to stop that clock.
Gain of about 8 yards, second down and 2.
So Fellows brings him up. Out of the I set this time. In motion is Noggle. Back, throws outside again, outside, and that's Noggle, and Noggle is nailed as he's pushed out of bounds. Very close to the first down. It depends upon where they will mark it, whether or not it is a first down. Of course, they need to get that first down to keep this drive alive. And we'll see how they mark it. It is a third down, so third down and just inches to go with 21 seconds. Out of bounds again, so the clock has been stopped. Third and one. Third and one for the Gresham Gophers. Ball is marked on about the 27-yard line. Noggle in motion right. Fellows at quarterback. Looks down the middle, and there's that pass again over to the middle to Justin McCluskey. And that is a first down, so the clock is stopped as the Gophers immediately line up. And McCluskey with a key catch that time again. Line up in a slot formation left.
I tell you, Jim, it's almost like there's another scoreboard down there at the end of that field. Jason Fellows very wisely getting the ball, short plays, getting it out to the sidelines.
Doing a fine job throwing it, and that's Hamilton, and Hamilton with a great effort.
It looks like
there is a flag on the play. And the problem that I think that we'll see, I'm not sure, already interesting to see whether it's offensive or defensive interference, and we'll see what happens here. It's offensive pass interference against Nate Hamilton, and what they did is they called him for pushing off. And as they went into the end zone, he was battling with number 43, Sean Talt, and Talt had good coverage, although, it was interesting call because it could have really gone either way. Talt did not turn to play the ball, and that's the one thing that sometimes will be called by the official, is the fact that he didn't turn to play the ball, but he did keep
pass interference. Offense includes the loss of down. Over here we go to 2. Second down.
Okay, second down and a whole bunch.
Only 8 seconds left to go in the half, so they're going to have to put it up in the air.
And then Reynolds will call a timeout, their final timeout of the first half. Coach Mark Ferris, the defensive coordinator, goes out and gathers his troops around. As you mentioned, 8 seconds to go here in the first half. Ball is marked on the 30-yard line. Actually, a pretty good throw by Fellows. It was to the outside, and had Hamilton not pushed off, it very easily could have been defensive pass interference, but as it was called, the push-off was called, and so it was offensive pass interference. Ball is marked back with a loss of down, 15-yard penalty and loss of down on the play. So Gresham will basically probably have, with 8 seconds to go, probably have one last shot at it, I would imagine. They might have 2 if they can get it off quickly, and it'll be interesting to see whether they go with the run or the pass. I don't think they have any timeouts left. And so I would assume they'll go with the pass and maybe try to get it down and to the outside or something, and give Eric Nielsen, their field goal kicker, an opportunity to kick. They do have a couple of other people that are capable of kicking, but Nielsen has been the one who has done all the PATs for them this year. And as we mentioned, he had 28 in a row coming into the game tonight and made 2 in a row. And then on his third one, he missed the PAT. And so he is now 30. Correction, he was 23 for 23, so he was 25 for 25. Here we go with 8 seconds to go. In motion is Nielsen to the right. Fellows back to pass, looks downfield, looking to the outside. He's got a man, and that's Noggle, and Noggle makes the catch, but they have no time left on the clock. Noggle with the catch as time runs out for the Gresham Gophers, and a great catch that time by Chad Noggle, but it comes up a little 10 yards short as the ball is downed on the 10-yard line, and with no timeouts, that's the end of the first half with the Gresham Gophers leading the Reynolds Raiders 20-7. As the Reynolds Raiders broke to first blood, they scored first right off the bat with 8:21 to go in the first quarter on a 35-yard touchdown pass from Michael Maroney to Evan Selby. And then the Gophers came right back and mounted almost an 8-minute, 88-yard touchdown drive that with 35 seconds to go in the first quarter, they scored on a 20-yard touchdown pass from Jason Fellows to Justin McCluskey. And then right off the bat in the second quarter, Dan Radke intercepts a pass from Michael Maroney and goes 25 yards for a touchdown on the intercepted pass. And then they came back on the ensuing punt return after the Raiders were stopped, and Chad Noggle goes approximately 70 yards with the punt return, and the Gophers then lead 20-7. And that's where we are right now as we see the Reynolds Raiders band coming out on the field for halftime. We'll have some halftime information and some activities at halftime right after this message from Mount Hood Community College as the Gresham Gophers lead.
All right.
Right. Hey, Keith, come on. Gotta go.
See you later.
So what's up?
Not much.
Thought you had a job.
No, it's harder than I thought.
So come back to school.
It's too late.
It's not too late. Look, I know this guy who had trouble reading, dropped out in the 8th grade, came back 20 years later.
Who was that?
Hey, Tom, come on, get a move on.
My dad. Look, if he can do it, you can do it.
Find out about getting your GED today.
We're back at halftime at Mount Hood Community College as we see the Reynolds High School Raider band out performing at halftime and going through their halftime activity. We see the score there. The Gresham Gophers are leading 20-7 over the Reynolds Raiders, and what was really, Jim, a very exciting first half and a lot of
action,
interesting plays. And again, it was a defense that basically, with the exception of the first two drives, the defense really has dominated this first half.
Yeah, Gresham's defense, Jim, as far as Reynolds' run is concerned, they haven't really had a whole lot of opportunities on the run as we take a look at the Mount Hood Conference standings.
Well, we see Gresham and Reynolds there at the top. They're both 4-0, and Central Catholic really improving. They've won 3 in a row now. They are 3-1, and Centennial and David Douglas tied at 2-2. Probably Douglas and Centennial both really fighting it out there as they are playing tonight. So when you people see this, we will know what the outcome of that, but those are the teams that are really in that hunt for the playoff spot. And Sandy, with their first win in 2 years this past week, as they picked up a big win at Park Rose in overtime, 36-28. And there you see Park Rose and Barlow both winless in league so far. The AP poll on week 7, you can see the Gresham Gophers there at number 6. Number 1 is Ashland. They're 6-0. Canby is 6-0. Benson, Roseburg, Sunset, and of course the Gophers there, then North Bend, West Lynn, Lebanon, and Thurston. And the Mount Hood Conference scoring leaders, and we might mention Eric Nielsen is ranked 2nd in state in scoring with 73 points. Behind him come Pat Connell of Centennial, Bill Volk of David Douglas, and Steve Robinson of Park Rose. And of course you see Jason Fellows there from Gresham with, it says 9 touchdown passes, but of course he has one already tonight to Justin McCluskey, so that will make it 10. And that will put him right in the thick of things in the state, as the leading player coming into tonight's action had 11. That was Bert Peterson from Ashland, had 11 touchdown passes. So Jason Fellows right close on his heels as we see, again, the Reynolds Raider band performing here at halftime. And their flag team as well. Band director is Ben Brooks. So, but Jim, overall, I would have to say that, as we mentioned, the defense is really dominating. Gresham, you know, really, if we look at it, the Raiders took over on the 47-yard line of Gresham after a fine opening kickoff run, and Blankenship faked the reverse and took it all the way down to the Gresham 47-yard line, and they got 12 yards in about 3 or 4 plays. actually in 5 plays, and then they had a 35-yard touchdown pass. So really, with the exception of one play, the Gresham Gophers really have not done a bad job defensively. They have basically stopped the Raiders. Or on the other hand, defensively, the Raiders haven't done a bad job, with the exception of that one long 8-minute drive that the Gophers put together.
All right. And that 70-yard interception also from, I believe that was Chad Noggle. Noggle came up, had the ball, didn't have anywhere to go, turned around and ran it back, and I think that was probably one of the key points in the game, especially that block he got from number 88, Nate Hamilton.
Well, it's been a big play first half, and I'm sure that we're going to see some exciting and some big plays in the second half, and we're going to take a break now, and then we'll be back with second half action after these messages.
Order call, on call.
Let go the anchor.
Liberty call now, Liberty call. Most jobs promise you the world. The Navy delivers. See your recruiter. Navy. It's not just a job, it's an adventure.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mount Hood Community College, where the Reynolds Raiders are hosting the Gresham Gophers. The Gophers rank 6th in state, and at the present time, as we get ready to start the second half, they are leading 20-7 over the Raiders. The Gophers had won the toss at the beginning of the ball game, and they deferred their selection till the second half, so they will be receiving here in the second half. And some halftime statistics. As far as rushing yardage, the Gresham Gophers on 15 attempts have 59 yards. The Reynolds Raiders also have 15 rushing attempts, and they only have 15 yards, however.
And that's a credit to that Gresham defensive line.
Those people in the interior have just totally dominated the game. Passing-wise, Gresham is 9 for 13 with 1 interception for 112 yards, and the Reynolds Raiders are 4 for 8 with 2 interceptions for 60 yards. Of course, one of those interceptions went for the touchdown. And first downs, Gresham with 10 and Reynolds with 4. So as the Raiders get set to kick off here, Steve Ray's number 86 will be kicking off. The Gophers will be receiving and getting an opportunity to put their hands on the ball first here in the second half, as we see the Raiders sideline. And Dan Baker working with his charges there, one of the assistant coaches for the Raiders. Back deep will be Chad Noggle, along with Eric Nielsen and Matt Lassard for the Gresham Gophers.
Steve Ray's to kick off for the Raiders.
Steve Ray's going to kick off now, as it looks like the officials are about ready to crank it up and get things going here. So the score 20-7. It'll be interesting to see whether Mike Shanahan has been able to get his group charged up and ready to go here, as Steve Ray's boots it away. Chad Noggle receives the ball on about the 6-yard line. Coming back up, he breaks to the outside. He's got a lane down the field. One man to beat. He cuts back across the field. He's got another man. He's coming here with some people on an angle. One person. He tries to cut back, and with the pursuit finally runs him down. Chad Noggle with another fantastic return, this time on a kickoff all the way back to the Reynolds Raider 31-yard line. He actually received that on the 6-yard line, and he was able to take that. As we watch on the replay here, just a fantastic, you see him on the 6-yard line. He comes back up, breaks to the outside, has a lane there. One person tries to cut back now and against the grain and continues to go, and just a fantastic run.
Tries to do a little dipsy-do there to get about 3 or 4 more yards and didn't get it.
Has to be a big psychological lift for the Gophers now as they take over. Jason Fellows at quarterback. Give to Nielsen, the tailback, and Nielsen straight ahead keeps those legs driving. And, you know, Jim, not only does he have the quickness, as you mentioned earlier, to get outside, but he also has good leg drive and good strength to run that ball from that tailback position on the inside. So with a gain of about 4 on the play, it'll be second down and about 6 now. Ball marked on the 28-yard line of the Raiders. Fellows brings him up out of the split backs this time. Snook and Nielsen in the backfield. Give to Snook this time. Snook straight ahead and just follows that offensive line. But that time the Raiders did a pretty good job of stacking it up right there and not allowing too much. Gain of about 2 or so on the play. So it will be 3rd down now, and it looks like about 4.
It's one of the few times you've seen that Reynolds defensive line hold up against that Gresham running attack.
Well, they're certainly going to be tested early here, and I'm sure that is upsetting Coach Mike Shanahan. Coach Gary Stoutzer, of course, from Gresham, has to be very pleased. His special teams have just done an outstanding job tonight. Out of a slot set, split backs, Fellows at quarterback, quick pitch outside. That's Nielsen trying to get around the corner. Does a spin move, and that spin move might have got him the first down. I don't know. It's very close. We'll wait to see where they mark the ball. Very, very close, and it looks like it's going to be just shy of the first down, so it'll be 4th down and very short yardage, 4th and 1. So Gresham early going to gamble and go for it. Ball marked on about the 23-yard line, so a crucial play early in the second half here as the defense for the Reynolds Raiders is going to be tested, and the Gophers are going to find out whether or not they can get it whenever they want it. Straight ahead dive, that's Snook straight ahead, and he definitely has it. As a great line surge by the Gresham Gophers. Number 60, they ran right over top of John Holcomb, Josh Kennard, also in there, John Lopez, Jay Anderton, and Jake Iverson, the offensive line for the Gresham Gophers.
I tell you what, John Lopez, that's a name that we've been talking about all night. Offense and defense, he has just done the job all night long.
So as they come up now, Jake Iverson, the center, over the ball. Fellows at quarterback, slot left, out of the I formation. The I back is Nielsen. Long count. Inside, and that's Nielsen. Nielsen again spinning, fighting, just scratching and clawing for extra yardage, and he's really a gutty little back. I'll tell you, he's not afraid to stick his nose in there and get some action. So a gain of about 4 on the play, so it'll be 2nd and 6. Ball spotted on the 16-yard line.
Nielsen at 5'10", 180 pounds with some good size for a back to go with excellent speed.
Of course, the number 2 ranked scorer in the state. And Fellows brings him up, I formation again. Give to Snook. Snook wide open on the inside. He cuts it up quickly. He has the first down and takes the ball all the way down to about the 8-yard line. So a very quick opening play there as they give it to the up back, Mike Snook, number 20, and he takes the ball all the way down to the 8. So it will be 1st and goal now for the Gresham Gophers. Ball marked on the 8-yard line, and the Gophers are just going right back to the basics at this time after that great kickoff return by Chad Noggle.
That last play, it looked like the Reynolds defense was looking for that outside run, and Gresham just shoved it right up the gut at him.
Fellows split backs this time. Slot to the left, Noggle in the slot. Give to Snook, and Snook has met right at the line of scrimmage, and that was Jason Rome, number 35, who does double duty. Offense, he's a great runner on offense and plays that linebacking position, defensive end position for the Raiders. So it will be no gain, so it's 2nd and 8 again. And the Raiders with a good goal line charge there, and of course Jason Rome, the do-everything performer for the Reynolds Raiders, in on that play. I formation. Give to Nielsen. Nielsen trying to get the outside. That's
Great
number 53 is in there very quickly. That's Todd Strickland. Strickland able to get in there very quickly and make the penetration. Actually slipped his block and was able to get in there and pull down Nielsen on the play.
And he'll get a couple of high fives as he comes off the field. A great play there.
Well, it'll be interesting to see now with this amount of space and Fellows with his running ability, what type of a play they call here. We have a official's timeout.
And number 35 for the Reynolds Raiders, Jason Rome, is upset about something.
It looks like there's some miscommunication there. Somebody called a timeout or said timeout, and one of the officials immediately called it, and doesn't look like it's something that they wanted. So a little bit of frustration by the by the Raiders there as they actually burn or waste a timeout here in the second half right off the bat.
Actually, this could go to Reynolds' advantage, being the fact of the ball was moved back by the play in number 53, Todd Strickland. So this could, if Reynolds uses this opportunity in this timeout, they could use this to their advantage and possibly turn this game around.
Well, we saw earlier with Gary Stouts talking to Jason Fellows, and one thing that this does with giving the extra 5 yards, 6 yards here, it does give them a little bit of room to throw the ball, and of course they're very effective with their passing game. And Hamilton was in the end zone a little earlier, did get an offensive pass interference, but we saw that he definitely has a leaping ability to go back and go up after the ball, and Fellows, of course, capable of putting that nice touch on the ball. And of course, the other thing that this really opens up is they have been running to the outside. They have some people that are very conscious of the outside, the option in that, and the play that we saw earlier, and that's Justin McCluskey, the tight end up the middle. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure that Mark Ferris, defensive coordinator for the Raiders, has brought that to his defense's attention. Back, and Fellows looking, and
incomplete.
Hamilton, it is knocked down by Sean Talt, and again, Hamilton kind of looking at the official, and it was a very close call, but a good defensive play by Sean Talt that time to get in there and get a hand in there and knock it down.
It kind of looked like Talt was all over Hamilton. The ball got there, Talt was there, and Talt was just all over him.
Well, it'll be interesting here. Eric Nielsen now, second leading scorer in the state, going to try a 20-yard field goal from the 20-yard line.
Bad snap.
No. Bad snap. Trying to get off a pass is number 3, the holder, and that was Brian Moss. And so it was an incomplete pass. The ball will be marked back at the 14-yard line, where the Raiders have held in a very, very good defensive effort by the Reynolds Raiders as the ball was down to the 8-yard line. Gresham had first and goal at the 8, and the Raiders were able to fight them off and take over possession now on the 14-yard line.
It looks as though that timeout came to the advantage of the Reynolds Raiders.
Maroney brings him up, gives the ball to Rome, and again Rome tries to cut outside, but nothing is there as Nate Hamilton is right in on the play and makes his presence felt immediately as he is able to drag down Rome.
I'll tell you, that Reynolds defense, they're not just coming in and knocking those guys to the ground. They're making sure they eat some of the ground when they go down hard.
Gresham's defense has really been, without question, the dominant force in the Mount Hood Conference this year. And Michael Maroney trying to break him free of that defense. The Reynolds Raiders, Maroney straight back to pass, looking downfield, and
oh, it's intercepted.
Intercepted, and that's number 64, the man we talked about before, John Lopez, with his second interception. His second interception, and he goes for approximately, 12 yards on the little dump pass, a screen over the middle. A 12-yard interception by John Lopez.
We've seen Reynolds utilize that play all night to its advantage. But one time Lopez had an interception. It was called back on a penalty. This time no flags, and John Lopez adds 6 more points to the count.
I'll tell you what, Lopez has had a career on the interceptions tonight. He has 2 interceptions. Nate Hamilton is the one that actually deflected the ball. Number 88 got in there and got a hand on the ball, tipped it up in the air, and Lopez quickly reacting to it. Number 64, the defensive middle guard, with 2 interceptions so far tonight. And Lopez takes the ball in for the touchdown. So a 12-yard interception return for John Lopez off the tip from Nate Hamilton. And waiting now, we have a timeout on the field, as I think they're allowing Lopez to catch his breath a little bit. I'm sure that he is a little bit tired after that effort. John Lopez, and I'll tell you what, a change of fortune really for the Raiders. The Raiders on a great goal line stand, and they're able to take over possession. And even though the ball was marked, they got the ball to the 14. They pushed the Gophers back. And from there, it was looked like the offense might be able to do something. And then a tip ball by Nate Hamilton. Michael Maroney intercepted for the second time tonight for a touchdown.
It's just a matter of Gresham taking advantage of some key mistakes.
Back to pass, Fellows looking outside, and he's got his receiver. That's Eric Nielsen with a 2-point conversion. And now we see the score jump up to 28-7 now. And of course, Nielsen missed the 1-point PAT earlier, his first one that he's missed this year out of 26. So he comes back, and Nielsen now gets the 2-point. We'll watch it here as Fellows just drops the ball out there. Perfect position, could not have been intercepted. Nielsen in great position and makes a fine catch. So Eric Nielsen with the 2-point conversion. So we now have the Gresham Gophers with 28 and the Reynolds Raiders with 7.
Great balanced scoring attack by the Gresham Gophers tonight.
I'll tell you, the man of the night has been John Lopez and Chad Noggle. Those two people have just been fantastic, and not to demean anything that any of the other Gophers have done, but those two guys have really dominated their respective areas.
John Lopez has been everywhere on defense and everywhere on offense as well.
Nate Hamilton to kick off. And a short kick this time. Taken by, and it is a reverse. Olandria comes around.
Got a good block. And
did get a good block that time, and it was number 50, Scott Trahorn, I think. Yes, Scott Trahorn, number 50, that got a good block for Olandria, and that was Nixon Ashton comes out here, and you can see the handoff in Olandria. Just not quite able to break that one seam, but he does get a good return all the way out to the 32-yard line where the Reynolds Raiders will take over. Maroney brings him up now again, this time, and Nixon gets to the outside. He cuts it back inside, and a great run, great leg drive. He's still going into the backfield, and finally the Gophers are able to drag him down.
He just exploded out of that backfield.
Jay Nixon Ashford, number 33, did a very fine job. A sweep to the right, and he found that seam and just busted it up inside. Showed great quickness that time, finding the seam and getting up on the inside. Be second down now, ball marked right at the 45-yard line of the Raiders. Second down and 3. Give on a sweep to the outside, and not able to get outside. That was Kent Dawson.
Dawson dropped back into a wingback position, came back and around, and just couldn't get the cut across the line of scrimmage.
Well, they run a lot of counter action off of with that wingback in tight like that, and that time though it looked like more of almost a reverse situation because he didn't have the angle to cut it up inside like you would on a counter or a trap play. And that time he came all the way to the outside, and the Brandon Deichler, number 22, the defensive end, able to string it out and allow the pursuit to come up and make the tackle for a couple-yard loss on the play. Option right this time. Ball bounced out on the ground. Nixon Ashford able to pick it up and does a great job of picking it up and making something out of absolutely nothing.
There you see the ball swimming out of his hands again. That's about the 5th or 6th time we've seen it happen.
Yeah, we'll watch it on the replay here, and not a good pitch by Maroney as the ball hits the ground. Nixon Ashford cuts to the outside, picks it up, and again, that time, as we saw in the first half, a lucky bounce for the Gophers on a play that we saw bounce up, and their back recover and make a gain out of it. This time, very fortunate, Nixon Ashford able to pick up the first down. So first down at the 50-yard line. Maroney back to pass, looking over the middle, and a great defensive effort by number 16. That's Mike Strand.
He came right over the top of the intended receiver. No contact at all, just enough to get his arm over and knock that ball away.
Just a super job. Strand at 6'2". Good height back there as a free safety, and he did an excellent job of coverage that time. And able to watch Maroney. As Maroney takes a little bit of time when he drops back, he really winds up and he's into his passing motion for a fairly lengthy amount of time and allows that defensive backfield to really react to where the ball is going. Split backs this time. Maroney straight back to pass to the outside, and that looked like a little bit of miscommunication between he and his receiver, number 81, Jordan Wiggins.
Pass is intended for Jordan Wiggins, incomplete.
So that'll bring up 3rd down and 10 now as Maroney, it looks like he might be just a shade gun shy, Jim, in terms of getting back in that pocket. He's been nailed a couple of times back there, and he's He's getting rid of that ball just as quick as he can when he gets back there. That time it looked like a little miscommunication. Wiggins wasn't quite as far on the out pattern as I think that Maroney anticipated he would be. Michael Maroney, quarterback, brings up Landry in the slot. Maroney rolling to his left this time, looking to the outside.
Great protection on that play.
Fine protection and a good catch by Warren O'Landry, number 45, to the outside, just over the outstretched hands of Mike Stook, number 20, and taken down in the backfield on the tackle by Eric Nielsen.
He got just enough on that first down. Maroney got back. He had lots of time to get rid of that football.
Well, one thing they did there is rather than going straight back and allowing those interior linemen who have just totally dominated the line of scrimmage from Gresham to get to the quarterback, they rolled him out a little bit that time and gave him a little bit more time to get the pass off, and Michael Maroney completing a pass to Warren Landry for the first down. Ball marked on the 39. And a mix-up that time, and Maroney able to pick up a couple of yards out of that on somebody went the wrong way, because Maroney turned around and handed the ball to nothing but air.
On that play, both of the backs went up each side of the quarterback on each side of the line. Maroney turned around, there was nobody there, and you talking about making something out of nothing. Maroney got about 3 yards on the carry.
Good effort by Michael Maroney that time. So the ball down now to the 37-yard line of Gresham, and Reynolds putting together a very fine drive here. In the slot is Blankenship, and they come on the counter action that time, and that's Blankenship with that counter action as he comes inside, cuts it up inside rather than coming on the sweep that we saw Dawson a little bit earlier. He cuts it inside of the block. It's a very nice block thrown by the pulling guard there, and he cuts it up inside, so it'll be third down now and 4 yards to go.
I tell you, on that block, you had 3 players in there that Blankenship could have ran into. Any 3 of those guys, cut up through the hole and made a great lunge.
Blankenship in the wingback position. Give this time to Nixon Ashford, and he goes outside. He cuts it back up in the inside, but he's got his first down all the way down to about the 21-yard line. So a great run by Jay Nixon Ashford, number 33 for the Reynolds Raiders.
That's just keeping your legs in motion and keeping going and all that forward motion. One thing that you always tell the running backs, no matter what happens, always keep those legs moving, especially even when you get hit. You never know, you may roll off of somebody.
Ball marked at the 27-yard line. Maroney brings him up, split backs this time. 2 wide receivers. Maroney straight back to pass. Looking over the middle, and it's intercepted. Mike Strand, number 16, coming upfield, makes a nice cut, gets around, and again, Mike Strand just sitting back there and picking off the pass. We have a flag down on the play. We'll see here. Maroney drops back, and I don't think he ever saw Strand. I don't think he ever saw him. He saw Kirk Budge, number 24, as wide receiver there, and he never did see Strand, number 16, as he stepped in front and made a very nice return. The flag that's on the play, we'll see here what the call is. We'll let Vern Marshall Jr. here.
We got a hold, green, refused, first down.
I tell you what, Jim, the reason why Maroney had no way of seeing Kirk Budge, number 24, is Strand stands 6'2", Budge is only 5'6".
Well, I think Strand was just kind of hiding back in there, even at 6'2". He was just hiding back in there. Budge was being covered by the cornerback, and Strand at free safety just stepped in front of that and made a very nice return after the interception. So the Gophers are back on the attack as the ball is given to Lassard. Lassard up, cuts to the outside, and as he turns it up, does a very nice job of picking up some additional yardage there. Nate Hamilton, again, the wide receiver, out with a downfield block. One of the most difficult blocks to make is that downfield block, and Hamilton doing a very fine job of it.
I tell you what, Jim, these running backs for Gresham, they look like they're running on AstroTurf. You'll see a cut here made by Lassard. Right there, it looks like an AstroTurf type cut. We've seen Nielsen do that all night long.
Fellows brings him up out of the I formation. In motion is Nago, coming to the right. Quick pass over the middle. That's Justin McCluskey. McCluskey with the pass that scored for went for a touchdown earlier in the first half. There again, as we see Reynolds beginning to compensate defensively for that wide sweep type action, gets the defense spread out a little bit, and all of a sudden then they come back with that tight end up the middle.
That's that short little pass play that Reynolds was trying to do something with early in the first half, and now Gresham is just throwing it right back at him.
32 seconds to go here in the third quarter as the Gresham Gophers are on the march again. Ball marked on the 44-yard line of the Reynolds Raiders. 1st and 10 for the Gophers. Back to pass is Fellows. Gets the ball out to Hamilton. Hamilton does a nice job of catching the ball, and the ball is blown dead at the 37-yard line. Hamilton trying to get a little bit more, fighting for some extra yards, but not able to get free of the defensive back, Sean Talt, 43, in on the coverage that time.
That looks like it'll be the last play of the quarter.
As the buzzer goes off here, ending the third quarter, we have a score of 28 for the Gresham Gophers and 7 for the Reynolds Raiders, as the Gresham Gophers have come back now, and it looked like the Raiders had something going offensively. They were able to move the ball. They were mixing up their plays fairly well, and then Mike Strand, number 16, the free safety, steps in and makes a big interception, returns it, and the Gresham Gophers are back on the march.
It seems like just as Reynolds tries to get something going, they get down within 20 yards of scoring, and it's just something just turns around. But I will say one thing, Jim, down here when that goal line stands, John Lopez, after they had turned the ball over to Reynolds, John Lopez came back with a great interception.
Well, it's been a night for special teams and for the defense of the Gresham Gophers, as they have done an outstanding job in executing, doing the things that Gary Stouts and his staff have drilled them on all season long. Out of a staggered set this time. Give to Lassard. Lassard up the middle. He cuts to the outside. He's all the way down to the 25-yard line of the Raiders. It's a very, very quick opening play, and Lassard with a nice cut. And you know, that's the one thing that Gresham have. They don't just have one or two people, Snook and Nielsen and those people. They can bring in Lassard, who, as we mentioned before, is the 5th-ranked rusher in the league. So they have some very potent weapons. Fellows brings him up, number 19, the quarterback for the Gresham Gophers. A slot left. Noggle in the slot. Hamilton split left. I formation. Lassard the tailback. Give inside. That's number 44. That's Ron Morris.
First look at Morris that we've seen tonight. I tell you, Jim, they could call that entire backfield for Gresham the track team.
They're quick, and it's so effective to give it to the fullback out of the I formation when your tailback has been so effective running outside and off tackle, and also on the sweep plays, and also when you get a little bit of the passing game going, you begin to spread that defense, and that's when that quick hitter to the fullback on the inside is really effective. Again, out of the I formation, Morris the fullback, Lassard the tailback. In motion is Noggle coming over to the left. Fellows back looking for Noggle. Noggle with the catch, and a quick pass and a great catch by Noggle, and to hang on to the ball, we see number 24 there, Chad Noggle, probably the outstanding special teams player that we have seen so far anyway in the entire league this season.
I would have to say Noggle right now has to be a thorn in the side of the Reynolds Raiders. He has just been everywhere, returning kickoffs and catching the passes when you need to catch them, just like he did just now.
Well, he's certainly done a fine job in terms of his return yardage and everything. Slot to the right now, I formation. Jason Fellows at quarterback. Fellows drops back, quick pass outside and it looked like they're going to call that an incomplete pass. They were looking to see whether or not it was a lateral, but it was not. Pass intended for Noggle, but it's an incomplete pass, so the clock is stopped with 10:26 to go here in the fourth quarter as the Gresham Gophers have a 2nd and 10. The ball is marked right on the 12-yard line. And so the Gresham Gophers, obviously in a 4-down area, although they might give Eric Nielsen a chance to add some points to his total with a field goal if they should be stymied here on 2nd and 3rd down. Lassard in motion to the right out of the tailback spot. It's the give to Morris. Morris cuts it inside with a nice cut back against the grain, and Morris all the way down, very close to the 1st down.
Morris down in around about the 2 or the 3-yard line, made an excellent cut to the inside.
Yeah, we'll wait to see where they mark it, and Vern Marshall Jr. will give us an indication whether or not it is a 1st down. And it is a 1st down. 1st and goal from about the 2-yard line, just outside the 2-yard line for the Gresham Gophers. A great run that time by Ron Morris Jr. the fullback out of that I formation, does a very nice job of cutting back inside against the grain and gets the ball all the way down to the 2.5-yard line. So the Reynolds Raiders faced with another tough goal line stand situation. Gophers come up now. Slot left. Give to Morris. Morris straight ahead, and he's in. Boy, I'll tell you what, there was a hole over there by that offensive line of the Gresham Gophers. Number 60 was involved in that. Number 63. Number 60 was John Holcomb. 63, Josh Kennard. And I'll tell you what, they just cleared a path. Of course, Josh Kennard, 6'2", 265. We'll watch it here, and boy, I mean, there's just some folks, some bodies bouncing around there. 63, Josh Kennard with a big block, crushing down and making way for Ron Morris there. Eric Nielsen to try the extra point. Out of the hold. And it's up, and it is good, so that moves it to 35-7 in favor of the Gresham Gophers.
And we talked about it earlier, Jim. We thought this was going to be a closer game than it was. It seems like that Reynolds defense, everybody in on that line has just kind of collapsed.
Well, I tell you, when you get so many things going the way that Gresham has right now, you have so many things coming at you, the sweeps and the passing game and everything like that, the defense gets so stretched out that they have a very difficult time covering the inside stuff, and that's when that really starts to go. And Gresham's done a great job. Gary Stouts and his staff have done an excellent job of play calling in terms of confusing really the defense as far as what should they cover, because every defense you have to give up something. Well, with the Gresham Gophers, what they've been able to do is to pick that out and then take advantage of whatever Reynolds has decided to give up.
I tell you, the defense for Reynolds is probably really tired at this moment. The defense has been on the field I would say three-quarters of the ball game, Jim.
Gresham certainly is capable of running some time off the clock. Nate Hamilton to kick off. Short kick, kind of a squibber over the front. Bouncing around, picked up by Ben Clark, number 40, and Clark able to advance the ball out to about the 33, 34-yard line. We'll see where they mark it. But Clark picking that ball up, and of course that thing was bouncing around there, and this is a live ball, and Gresham very quick on the coverage there. So
it's like somebody put a bed spring inside that football. That football has been bouncing all over the place, in and out of hands of receivers, and even on some punt returns.
So the Raiders now, confronted with a 35-7 deficit, have to get something going. And the pass there from number 12, John Dixon now in at quarterback. John Dixon, number 12 at quarterback.
Kurt Budge on that reception.
Budge with a nice catch. He did have his knee down when he caught the ball, so he was down immediately. So a gain about 5 on the play, so it'll be 2nd and 5, ball just not quite to the 39-yard line of the Raiders. The Raiders running a few different people in there now, trying to get some fresh folks in there, some people that are ready to go. Daniel Maroney split to the right. Ball given, and that's Blankenship, and nothing there as Brandon Deichler, number 22, comes up from his defensive end position and just stuffs it right at the line of scrimmage. So a very nice job by Brandon Deichler that time.
Blankenship had nowhere to go. He got tripped up in the backfield, and when you get your legs taken out from under you, it takes quite a bit of effort to get back on top, and Blankenship just couldn't do that.
3rd and 7 now, ball at the 41-yard line. And the Raiders a little bit slow getting to play in here. John Dixon, as we mentioned, now in at quarterback, number 12. 6'2" junior. So he brings him up, split backs. Straight back to pass, and I'll tell you what, he does not have a chance. In there first is number 36, Jeff Davis. Jeff Davis made contact, and then there were a whole bunch of other folks in there. Number 22 was Brandon Deichler.
And that Reynolds.
Nate Hamilton, number 88, also in there, but 36 also, Jeff Davis getting a hand in there and forcing now the punter, Corey Morris, number 41, to come in and try to get the Raiders out of trouble here, as the Raiders now are forced to burn another timeout as they don't have enough folks on the field. So,
as I was talking about earlier, Jim, that Reynolds offense, they've been on the field about a total of about a minute and a half, and that brings the defense back out onto the field after they punt this ball away. You know, beans if Gresham does not turn the ball over, therefore putting that tired defense back out onto the field again.
Yeah. Okay, take a look here. We see Wally Green, one of the offensive line coach, on the sidelines talking to some of his players. And the Raider Rally forming here, and I'll tell you, those girls put in a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of work, and they also need to be recognized for their efforts as well, both the Gresham and the Raider Rallies.
You know, Jim, there's talk of Gresham and Barlow possibly doing the same thing that Columbia and Reynolds did. If that should happen, East County is going to see two tough football teams.
Well, that's, you know, we'll wait and see what happens on that. Corey Morris to kick. Corey, nice kick. Thumps it away, and there's that man, Chad Noggle, again on the return. And that time the Raiders down quickly. Number 32 quickly down, not allowing Noggle to, and that was Brent Dupuis, very quickly down, making the tackle and not allowing Noggle to get a head of steam up. As we've seen, if you allow him to get any space at all on the returns, he is deadly, because he's had a couple great ones, both on a kickoff and a punt return. Punt return for a touchdown. And
as you were saying, he's probably got two of the longest returns, about 72 and 70 yards.
Tyler Nagel now at quarterback for the Gophers, as a whole host of clean jerseys come in there. That's Matt Lassard from the tailback position, and Lassard all the way up to the 46-yard line of the Gophers, and they just have a bunch of folks that are capable. Now he's got Gary Stouts. I think Gary Stouts really has a class program, Jim. We've seen him in a number of times, and you know, even we expected a very, very close ball game here, and with 6:30 to go, it's 35-7. And you know, he plays a lot of people. He can never be accused of rolling the score up. He just has a lot of people that are very fine athletes. In motion, right to the left. Noggle gives the ball, fumble on the play. The ball is down, and it looks like the Raiders have recovered. The first time that a fumble has occurred tonight, and that's about the 7th fumble, but the first time that it's changed possession. So the Raiders recover that fumble, and they will take over on their own 45-yard line, which might be the little spark that they need to try to get something going and save a little face here.
With about 6:14 left to go in a ball game.
John Dixon again in at quarterback, and you know, this is an opportunity to get a number of people some playing time. The game, you know, it's never completely decided, but of course 35-7 is a pretty big deficit for the Raiders to overcome. There we see that sweep action off the reverse, and that was Kent Dawson, number 19, coming from his wingback position. And again, Dawson has been involved more with a sweep type of reverse action and not so much with that counter action. The counter action turns it up inside by the center and the guards, where your sweep action or your reverse action actually takes the ball to the outside, out around the end. So the Raiders not being able to really get that corner turned tonight. I'll tell you, they've got some folks out there that are just tough to get around those defensive ends. Deichler and Hamilton are two of the people that come to mind immediately. Dixon back to pass, looking downfield.
He's got trouble.
There are a lot of folks around there looking for John Dixon's helmet, and they definitely find him there, as a bunch of folks are in there, led by number 76. That was Robert Egger.
Also number 55, Sean Markham, in there on the tackle also.
A lot of new faces in there, and we'll try to get all of them mentioned as best we can, but a lot of new faces in there for the Gresham Gophers. Gary Stouts gives everybody an opportunity to get into this big game. And I tell you, we might mention just a little bit the schedule coming up. Gresham does not have an easy schedule. They really have to play some of the toughest teams down the road. So they still have Central Catholic and David Douglas to play. And stuffed right at the line of scrimmage for the Raiders is number 32. That's Brent Dupuis. And so it will be 4th down and a little bit more than 10 for the Raiders, and they will have to punt it away as Corey Morris again lines up to load up the leg and punt it away.
Once again, Reynolds got the ball back at 6:14. They cough it up again at 4:10.
Noggle and Nielsen back to receive the punt.
Oh, and it's faked.
Morris trying to get to the outside, looking for the first down, and not able to get that corner turned, as there are a host of Gresham Gophers over there, led by Nate Hamilton, and number 21 there also was James Golden, not allowing Morris to fake a punt and run, and so the Gresham Gophers will now take over on the 43.5 yard line of the Reynolds Raiders. So, you know, it's one of those situations where you pull out all the stops and you give it your best shot, but the Gophers are just tough. They react to everything. They recover very well, as you see right there, and they're a very fine football team. Lassard, the tailback, and he's cut down at the line of scrimmage. That's Mike Card, who takes his legs out from under him, number 84 for the Reynolds Raiders. So he tries to cut upfield, Lassard.
Looks like he got about a yard, if that.
I was mentioning the schedule, Jim, and the Gophers have Central Catholic at home next week, and then they will travel to David Douglas for the final game of the season, or the league season. So they have two tough ball games in front of them. Reynolds really has the better break in terms of their schedule. They are at Centennial next week, and then they have Park Rose at home. So in comparing schedules, definitely there's no question. Holy cow, I'll tell you what, right there, Tyler Nagel. It looked like the Chinese fire drill in the back there. Everybody was going every which way, and Nagel just tucked it under his arm and turned it upfield and got a gain of about 4 or 5 on the play and takes it down. So it's now 3rd down and about 2.
Nagel on that play just looked every which way and said, well, I think I better go forward with this ball.
And a very good decision by Tyler Nagel. Number 1 in at quarterback now. Nagel gives the ball to Lassard. Matt Lassard all the way up to the 31-yard line. The ball is marked there. There was a fumble, but it was after the whistle, so there is a first down on the play for the Gresham Gophers. And Gresham now just methodically marching the ball downfield, and it's so impressive because we realize that none of their first stringers are in. They've got people in there now who probably some of the JVs, the kids that played in the JV game yesterday, and of course the OSAA allows them to play 5 quarters in a week, so even if they played, they have 1 quarter that they can play in a varsity game, and this gives them an opportunity to get some varsity experience. And we see Nagel there trying to turn it up. The option was run to the right, but Nagel saw a seam and tried to turn it up quickly, and he picks up about 2 on the play, maybe 3.
One thing that impresses me also with this Gresham offense, as you said, you've got people coming in that don't rarely get a chance to play, and both the starters and the JV players that are also in show a great deal of patience and not trying to force anything too quickly. And you've got to credit that Gresham coaching staff coaching them on how to utilize what they see and what they read on the defense.
Very good job that time. Tyler Nagel not real sure, and of course that can happen with a less experienced quarterback in there, and Nagel not sure, so he does use a timeout, making sure with 1:29 to go now that there's no mix-up. He doesn't want to have anything, would prefer not having to turn the ball over at this time, and so it wouldn't surprise me to see Gary Stouts just continually run the dive play into the middle, and you know, Stouts is the type of guy that, as mentioned before, with the class that he has in his program, he knows how to win. You know, and that's very important. He knows how to win, and he knows how to handle his opponents in terms of winning. He would never try to rub it in their face or anything like that. So a very classy person and a very classy program, the Gresham Gophers. We might also say that the Reynolds Raiders have conducted themselves extremely well tonight also, and it's been a very, very fine football game. We saw 2 good football teams come out here and play, and as we can see, the Gresham Gophers are a team that, without question, is deserving of that number 6 ranking in the state. Tyler Nagel back to pass, kind of surprising.
He's got room to
running
run.
some time off the clock, and he turns it upfield, and he's still short a couple of yards short of the first down, so it'll be 3rd down now, and a play probably designed just to, we see the replay here, Tyler Nagel dropping back and never really looked like he definitely had a receiver picked out downfield, and he turns it up and gets about 4 or 5 on the play, so it's 3rd down and 4 now.
Since the introduction of the Mount Hood Conference about 10 years ago, just the Gresham Gophers have just been the powerhouse as far as football is concerned. Last year they had John Sandstrom in the backfield. This year they've got Lassard, they've got Nilsson, they've got just a great balance of.
Well, he had the first down, number 3, but well, it looks like he turned it back upfield and got to Brian Moss, the wide receiver, on a pass from Tyler Nagel to Brian Moss. Kind of surprising here. Of course, you never quite know what people are going to do in terms of kids when they get in there, but they're hurrying up there with 30 seconds to go now, and it looks like they're going to go down and try and score, which is a little bit surprising that they would do that with a 35-7 lead. Nagel back to pass again. He throws the ball down the middle, and it's intercepted. A great interception that time by number 30 coming over for the Reynolds Raiders, and that was Ryan Trafari. Trafari with the interception, so a nice job by Trafari to read it and to come over, make the interception, and stop that drive of the Gresham Gophers. With 16 seconds to go, Reynolds calls their final timeout.
Green time.
With all due respect to the Reynolds Raiders, they've had a few bright spots of their own tonight. Brian Peterson on defense, he's had an interception. Trafari with that interception. Michael Maroney had some good opportunities on offense, especially when they opened the game on that pass play.
I think the one thing that we look at, is the consistency, and I think the defense that the Gresham Gophers have put up all year long, very consistent defensively. As we mentioned, they only had 8 points scored against them in the league coming in, and Reynolds was a very potent offensive team. They had scored 101 points in league in 4 ball games, so they only allowed their opponents 41. So, they're a very potent team, but they come in against this Gresham Gopher defense, and I don't think there's any question that the real main thrust of the success that the Gophers are enjoying is as a result of their defense. And I'd also have to add to that their special teams, and that's probably the one thing that separates them from the other teams. As Dixon drops back to pass, and it looks like he's going to be stuffed.
Looks like it'll be a safety.
No, looks like the official there, Vern Marshall, there finally marks the ball, and it's marked down at the 2-yard line. So the clock will run out here as the horn goes off, and the Gresham Gophers have defeated the Reynolds Raiders 35-7 here at Mount Hood Community College in a battle of unbeatens. But unfortunately, one team has to go away with a loss. The Gophers remain undefeated. They are 5-0 now in league. The Raiders dropped to 4-1, depending upon how the Centennial game came out tonight, the Centennial David Douglas game. They could drop back into a second-place tie. Centennial and David Douglas are playing tonight over at Centennial. So it's a situation where we'll just kind of have to wait and see what comes of that game. But this may tighten up the race a little bit, but I think that we have seen the one dominant team in the Mount Hood Conference, and that's the Gresham Gophers, and they are just flat tough.
They've always been tough, and I think they always will be.
We're going to take a break right now, and then we'll be back with some post-game activity right after these messages.
Within seconds after lighting up with crack, your heart rate and blood pressure increase. Smoke a little more, and your heart really revs up. Your heartbeat becomes erratic. That's called arrhythmia. You get a little higher, and your heart goes into overload. And that's called a heart attack.
The heartbreak of crack. Now, at least you know.
I want to remind you that next week we will be at David Douglas High School, where the Sandy Pioneers will be visiting, and that should be a great ball game. It'll be our first opportunity to see the Pioneers, who got a big win last week in overtime over Park Rose, and they will be visiting the Scots, who are still in the playoff picture as well. So that should be a very important game for the David Douglas Scots as well as for the Sandy Pioneers. For Jim Schobel, I'm Jim Shealy, and we'd like to thank you for being with us tonight as we mentioned the final score, which was the Gresham Gophers 35, the Reynolds Raiders 7. Good night.